Looking around the room, nice to see so many devotees. We'll see what happens as we get closer to the... It's already 11:45. It's supposed to end at 12:30. We'll probably go a little bit after 12:30 because that's probably what it's going to take. I hope that's okay. As you see in the lower right side, this little logo for the topic that we've been speaking about the last couple of days. That's Krishna dealing with the Aghasura demon, chapter 12 of Canto 10, Srimad Bhagavatam. In Krishna's childhood pastimes, the age is 4 years, 4 months. Some of you know some small children that are around that age. And both boys and girls, they're very playful in that age, commonly. And that propensity comes from the source of everything, from Krishna. So we heard the first half of this description, this narration, about the playfulness in various ways, loving exchanges. When children in this world are playful, it kind of is meaningless. And when the playfulness of Krishna and his associates is different. It's rasa. It's loving exchange in varieties of ways that gets more enlivening, and there's no limit to how the cowherd boys are enjoying themselves in transcendental happiness. So there's a little break in that playfulness because the cowherd boys find themselves face to face with this giant 8-mile long serpent. It's astonishing. It's part of the pastime. Part of the pastime is the astonishment of seeing something so outrageous. Think about how long it took you to get here from wherever your home is. How long did it take us to get here? Half hour? A little around a half hour. So how many miles is that? Something like, 3 Agasuras. So 8 miles long, that's a big distance. And the serpent, it was actually a mystic personality that had powers. One of his powers was he could assume different forms, shape-changing, mystic power. So he assumed a form. He was human-like, a Rakshasa-like personality, but he assumed a giant form. And his plan? Kill Krishna. He was in the category of Asura, or a demon, with a very clear focus to kill Krishna. Now, the appearance of all of this, the pastime itself, the appearance of Aghasura in the middle of a forest, all the details is being arranged by Krishna's Lila Sakti. So we're going to be discussing what's this Lila Sakti. And it's a term that's commonly used by our predecessor acharyas, because our founder acharya, or Srila Prabhupada, commonly used the term Yogamaya. Now, if you've been around long enough, you've heard the term Yogamaya many, many, many times. Yogamaya, Yogamaya. So, what's the relationship between Yogamaya and Lila Shakti. It's very simple. I asked a Sanskrit PhD graduate from Harvard University to answer that question. And here's the answer he gave. Lila Shakti is a potency or Shakti or energy derived from Yogamaya, whose function is to carry out Yogamaya's intentions. So it's like the instrument of, an energy of. So Yogamaya is an energy, but in the spiritual plane, there's not just like electricity or something, or some energy like heat and light, like the heat and light of the sun. It's been pretty hot lately. So that's energy, but there's an energetic from which the energy comes. The energetic is a person. And the energetic person is Yogamaya, and she has a name. She has a form. She has a personality. She has a role to play in Krishna's pastimes. And her role to play is she, Yogamaya, facilitates Krishna's happiness. Krishna desires happiness moving in this direction, happiness moving in that direction, and she facilitates. She does so through the agency of her derived from Yogamaya as Lila Shakti. So they're, in one sense, they're the same. Another sense, one is the instrument of, and the other is the source of that instrument. Like, a sword or pen. You move the pen with your hand. But behind the hand that's moving the pen is the person who's willing the pen to move. So there's the instrument, or the Shakti, that makes the mark on the paper, or easel, or whatever the surface is. And then there's the person. So Yogamaya is the person, and not like Lila Shakti is an imperson. She's a person. Under the beck and call, or as the fulfiller of Yogamaya's command, and Yogamaya is intuitively, whether Krishna says it or not, she knows Krishna's desire, and she fulfills Krishna's desire, his pastime plan. So, including this Aghasura demon showing up in the middle, the boys are playing and playing and playing and playing and playing, and they're off in the forest, and all of a sudden there's this giant 8-mile-long thing. And they're in such a playful mood, they think it's a playground. Oh, how nice. Somebody made a little playground for us off here in the forest. Let's go. Play. Because that's what little boys like to do. With Krishna, of course. So the point is, this is the mystery of Lila Shakti is the title. So she, Lila Shakti, is feminine energy. She's arranging things according to the indication of Yogamaya to facilitate Krishna's happiness or his pastimes, making arrangements for loving exchanges between Krishna and his beloved devotees. So we'll go back a little bit, because it was an important a step in the direction of what's on the screen here, is why does Krishna come to this material world? And there's different reasons found in Bhagavad Gita. Those of you that have been around for a while, you know the verse from Bhagavad Gita. Pritranaya sadhunam, he gives protection to the devotees. Vinashaya cha duskritam, he admonishes or curbs the influence of the duskritis, wicked people. And dharma sangstha, when there's discrepancy in dharma, he restores dharma, reestablishes dharma, those three things. But another very important thing, which we discussed at length yesterday, was that that's important, but as far as Krishna is concerned, more important than important is loving exchange with his devotees. It's what he wants, and it's what his devotees want, and what Krishna wants is what his devotees want. That's what Krishna wants. And devotees want what Krishna wants. It's called love. You subordinate your will to the beloved. Krishna does, and the devotees do. That's love. It's a loving exchange, and with that, within that context or medium of loving exchange, there's a taste. And each, according to their disposition, a different taste. Although it's the same entity, it's the same Krishna. It's just like if you taste sugar, it's sweet. Everyone tastes it sweet, unless you have jaundice, and then it tastes bitter. But the taste of sugar is sweet, not bitter. If you're diseased, it may not be palatable. But the object is the same. So Krishna is the unlimited source of everything. It's reciprocating rasa, or loving exchanges, the happiness of loving exchange with his eternal associates. When he manifests in this world, with him come his associates. And he engages in loving exchanges with those loving associates. That's the pastime. So that we're hearing one of those pastimes. So an example, here's a few examples of how Yogamaya works. I can't get it much closer. Some examples of Yogamaya. Here's one. I'll give a few. One of them is the childhood pastime of Krishna when he was just 3 months old. When Krishna was just 3 months old, Kamsa sent his number one demoness. Her name was Putana. And the background, as you know, the background was Kamsa was told when he tried to kill the 8th child of Devaki, by same way he killed the first 6, he raised a child by their leg, newborn child, smashed him on a rock in the prison cell. The guy was nasty. So he raised the 8th born child in the air by her legs, and she slipped from his hand and flew in the sky and laughed at him. Oh, Kamsa, you are such a fool. How was that? Loud enough? The 8th child of Devaki has already been born and will kill you. And she disappeared. That was Durga. So he doesn't want to die, but the 8th child of Devaki, he already heard another voice. Now he's hearing directly from Durga. The 8th child has been born, is somewhere else, and will kill you. So he has, he's Kamsa. So he's a demon. He wants to beat the 8th born child to the punch, and so he wants to kill the 8th born child. But first he has to find her. So he selected as his first instrument the demoness Putana. There's a reason. There's multiple reasons. She was wicked, and she had multiple mystic powers. One of her mystic powers was She could fly in the sky. The Sanskrit word is kechari, and in English it's witch. In America, we don't so much know about witches, but we have Halloween. And in Halloween, one of the classic logos for Halloween is the witch flying in the sky riding her broomstick, isn't it? She's got a big bump on her nose, and she's got this funny hat, zooming along and riding along on her broomstick. Kechari. Prabhupada writes in his Bhaktivedanta Purports, even today in the northwest part of India, there are such kecharis. They break off a branch of a tree or a limb of a tree, and they fly in the sky, not on a broomstick. That's, the West. On a branch of a tree. Doesn't say how. They have some mystic ability and they can zoom around. So she was zooming around, looking for this, eighth child of Devaki. And she found out, because she was zooming, checking out newborn children, and none of them were the right one till she found the right one. Then she tried to kill Krishna, and instead of killing Krishna, Krishna killed her. And when Putana died, her body became really big. The Aghasura demon was 8 miles long. Her body became 12 miles long. 12 miles long? That's, Krishna was exhibiting a power that this little 3-month-old child can kill this demon that was 8 miles long, 12 miles long. Like, what? But he has mystic power. Then another nice pastime is showing the Yoga Maya potency. There are 2 pastimes of Krishna showing within his mouth the entire universe. This is pastime number 2. And you see in the background in the painting, there's Balaram. There's some other cowherd boys, and they're playing with Krishna. And they went and told Mother Yasoda, your son Krishna ate dirt. Now, what mother hears that their child has eaten dirt is going to, oh, it's okay. Eat a little dirt is okay. She's Mother Yasoda. She said, the cowherd boy said, you ate dirt. And Krishna said, they're lying. I didn't eat dirt. She said, even your brother, your dear brother Balaram, he said too. He said, he's lying too. She said, oh, and if you don't believe me, you can look inside my mouth if you see some residual dirt in my mouth. I haven't eaten dirt. So he opens his mouth. She looks inside. And she sees the universe within, not just dirt, but the entire universe. And the description is there, all the planetary systems and this and that and the other thing. And you look closely at the painting and you can see that she saw herself looking inside Krishna's mouth. What? That's Yogamaya. It's the unlimited, without limit, no limit to the potencies of the unlimitedly potent Supreme Personality of Godhead, even in the form of a small child. Or, one of our celebrated pastimes in ISKCON, we celebrate for a whole month, the Damodar Lila. And you know the pastime, because we sing it every day for a month. Mother Yasoda was trying to bind Krishna because he was being naughty, because he had stolen butter, and she can't let him grow up being a thief. She has to. You have a noisy curtain, but it makes sure we stop our class. Hare Krishna. Okay, so now we're back with Mother Yasoda binding Krishna, but you know what happened? You all know what happened. You know what happened? Yeah, she couldn't bind him. It was 2 inches too short. So she's the wife of the chief of the cowherds, the king of the cowherds. How many cows does Nanda Maharaj have? He's got a lot of cows, 900,000 cows. So she went to the cowshed and got some more rope and tied some more rope. And when she tried to bind Krishna, it was still too short. And not only too short, but the same 2 inches too short. So she got more rope, 150 feet of rope, and it was still 2 inches too short. What's that? It's Yogamaya. It's the mystic power. Because Krishna didn't want to be bound. You can be Mother Yasoda, you can be the man in the moon. You can't bind Krishna if he doesn't want to be bound. So there. But he saw that she was perspiring and the hair was falling, the flowers were falling from her hair. She looked very disturbed. He didn't like that. So he withdrew his potency that was prohibiting her from binding him, and he extended another potency that she could bind him. So she was able to bind him. Yes, Yogamaya. These are examples of the power of Yogamaya. And there was a purpose that when he got bound by that rope of Mother Yasoda to the grinding mortar, she went back and did her household duties, and little Krishna started toddling along. And as he was toddling, the grinding mortar got caught in between 2 Arjuna trees. And I learned a little bit about agriculture, or the different types of trees. And the Arjuna trees are something like oak trees. They're hardwood with really strong roots, and they don't fall over easily, even in a hurricane. But he's a little toddler, and he pulled over those trees. And from the trees came these 2 personalities. Nala Kuvar and Manigriva, who were cursed to become trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and could be delivered by Krishna in his little baby feature. Or, one more, another nice example is the Brahma Vimohan Lila. Now, we're discussing chapter 12 of Canto 10. In chapter 13 of Canto 10, there's the whole scene where Krishna allows Brahma to experience the unlimitedness of Krishna himself. And the unlimitedness of Krishna is unlimited, literally unlimited. And he sees it, there's a description of it, he experiences it. And there he is offering his prayers. So this is Yogamaya, that Krishna does these things through the agency of his potencies. And because of time, it's already 8 minutes after 12. So I'm going to skip this. This is a nice song we've been singing, but I'm going to skip it because of time. Now we're in part 3, where Krishna's entering into the mouth, the cowherd boys on the left are entering into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. And Krishna's standing there with his hand held up. He doesn't say, stop. But generally, Krishna doesn't have to say or do anything. He just has to desire, and whatever he wants happens because he has potencies that carry out his will. So here's the beginning of part 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, was situated as Antaryami, the Supersoul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking among themselves about the artificial python. When they saw this python in the middle of the path in the forest, they thought it was a playground. So they were thinking it's artificial, it's not a real python. Unknown to them, it was actually Aghasura, a demon, who appeared as a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates from entering the demon's mouth. So there they are, waving, Hari Bol Krishna. Off we go into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. And Krishna didn't want it, because he knows he's Antaryami. He knows this is a demon wanting to kill them and me. Jiva Goswami's commentary. This is an important detail about the relationship between Lila Shakti and Yogamaya. So listen carefully. Knowing it was not only a python, but the Rakshasa named Agha, since he was in everyone's heart as Paramatma, was the inspiration for all things and was endowed with all powers, Bhagavan, he wanted to prevent them. Now, if he wanted to prevent them, there's nothing that can stop him, because he's all powerful and omniscient. However, as you see, the commentators Jiva Goswami, and one of the many explanations or commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam is this Sandarbhas, and there's one of the 6 Sandarbhas called Priti. Priti means love, that when love is fully in force in a relationship with Krishna, there are some characteristics, and here's one of them. And Jiva Goswami, is pointing to a pastime from Ramayana. You're very familiar with this. When Ramachandra entered the forest, and Lakshman was also absent, the worst of all Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of the king of Videha, just as a tiger seizes unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. Now that shouldn't happen, but at least in the Leela, in the forest, it happened. And what was Ramachandra's response? Like, he's omniscient, he could know what was going to happen before it happened. He's all powerful, he could have stopped it from happening, but it happened against his will. And then Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana, as if they were very much distressed due to separation from his wife. Thus, he showed by his personal example the condition of a person overly attached to women. Now, it doesn't say overly, but attached to something, and then supposing that something gets misplaced or something happens to that which you're attached to, then there's a sadness. So he is omniscient and all-powerful. He knows exactly where Ravana is. He knows exactly where Sita is. But he is experiencing a rasa. Ramachandra is experiencing the rasa of separation, vipralamba bhav in technical terms. The love, the bhava of vipralamba, love and separation. Though internally Rama was controlled by prema, externally he announced the result for persons who freely associate with women performing actions of indifference. In manifesting pastimes, where he is absorbed in human actions with intense prema for his devotees, sometimes, as in this case with Krishna and the cowherd boys, sometimes the Lord shows bewilderment contrary to his omniscience. So for those of you that kind of settled in, the theme is the mystery of Lila Shakti. That's the opening topic. So this is mysterious. The omniscient, all-powerful personality of Godhead is going to become bewildered by what just happened. Jiva Goswami continues, but that is good, his bewilderment. It's not a fault, since it bestows happiness, a priti, to the wise. For his bewilderment supports the sweetness of his pastimes. He accepts this bewilderment by his will, which is bewildering. But let's hear a little bit more. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. This is a straight verse from the next text of this chapter. The demon, however, did not swallow them, for he was thinking of his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. So for those of you not familiar, I'll make you a little familiar with the previous pastimes. The first of the demons, you all remember because I already mentioned it, Putana. And then in chapter 11, there was another demon named Baka or Bakasura. So the background is there were two brothers and one sister, and they're all brothers and sisters. Putana was his sister, was Agasura's sister. Krishna killed her. Baka was Agasura's brother. Krishna killed him. So Baka's in a get-back mentality. I'm going to take revenge. Krishna killed, I want to kill Krishna. I want to kill all the cowherd boys because they're friends of Krishna, but especially want to kill Krishna. So the cowherd boys entered, and he didn't close his mouth. Now, pythons, when something goes in their mouth, the mouth closes and they're caught. And then they have very, very powerful acidic juices in their body, and they can digest anything or anyone or any creature, any parts of, not just the flesh, but the bones and you name it. Pythons are dangerous and powerful. But he didn't close his mouth because he wanted to kill Krishna. So now comes the one of the perplexing situations. There's Krishna, and he has a desire. What was that desire? He desired to stop the cowherd boy from entering the mouth of the snake. That was Krishna's desire. And he's all-powerful. And then does this mean that Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti, through which his every wish is fulfilled, did not work? So that means there's something above Krishna. Because normally, in most circumstances, Krishna doesn't have to do anything. He just desires. That's what this sankalpa means. Satya is truth. Satya sankalpa means by his desire, things happen. Satya sankalpa shakti, the potency by which Krishna desires, and voila. And so it was. Like the Bible says, God wished that there be a creation, and so it was, and it was good. He didn't have to do anything, just a wish. And so it was. That's how events happen from the spiritual plane to the material plane. There's a controller, and the controller just has icha, or desire, or satya sankalpa in it, then voila, it becomes manifest. So this is a question. He didn't want it to happen, but it happened. So why did it happen if he didn't want it to happen? The answer is here. The cowherd boys had a desire. What's their desire? If we go in the serpent's mouth, will he swallow us? If he swallows us, our friend will kill him as he did Baka. That was chapter 11. Krishna killed Bakasura, or Bakasura. So if this demon wants to kill us, no problem, because Krishna will take care of him. Let's go. So there's Krishna looking at the scene. He not say anything, but the cowherd boys and the calves go enter into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. So how did this happen? It's very simple. Krishna subordinates his desire to the desire of his devotees. Generally speaking. Although it may appear otherwise, it's always the case. But there may be a Leela where it's not moving from point A to point B in a straight line. This is a very nice teaching. It's pretty simple. The teaching is like the movements of a snake going from point A to point B. The snake doesn't go just from point A to point B. And then they reach point B, but they don't go in a straight line. Similarly, prema doesn't move in a straight line. And Krishna doesn't move in a straight line. Krishna is not bound by point A to point B. He moves in ways that's mysterious, like mystery of Lila Sakti. It's a pastime. It's a Lila. And he's demonstrating something through this Lila, that he's subordinating his desire to the desire of his devotees. So they were able to enter. The Lord is controlled by his devotee. This is the arrangement of the ever-watchful Lila Shakti of the Lord, which is to increase the sweetness of the pastimes and destroy all contradictions, because there's a clear contradiction. He's the all-powerful omniscient, and something happens that's other than his desire. He's certainly going to know the outcome before it happens, because he's omniscient. He past, present, future. He knows. He doesn't have to guess. Perhaps, maybe. Cause and effect. He is the cause. He's the cause of all effects. He's the cause of all causes and effects. Sarva karana karanam. But it happened because he's demonstrating, and he lives with his eternal associates in this way. Meditate on this one. So that we're not done yet. So there's the demon. Krishna's got his hand up. They're walking into the mouth of the demon. Krishna saw that all the cowherd boys who did not know anyone but him as their Lord had now gone out of his hand and were helpless, having entered like straws into the fire of the abdomen of Aghasura, was death personified. Now Lila Shakti is making this arrangement that other than Krishna's will, something happened, demonstrating subordinating his own will to their will. But there was also then a secondary emotion. Many of you have been around for some time. Some of you are newer. For those who have been around for some time, you know that there are 5 primary rasas. We'll go, this is number 1. Neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, conjugal love. That's 5. 5 primary rasas. And according to Rupa Goswami's teachings, there are secondary rasas. And this is one of the secondary rasas. Astonishment. It's a secondary rasa. And what does secondary rasa do? Secondary rasa, according to Rupa Goswami, it's like waves of a river. So there's a river, and water's flowing, and sometimes the wave goes up. And that same wave, sometimes the wave goes back to normal, sometimes it goes down. There's the movement of the water, but it's just water moving. The rasa is like that. So sometimes the secondary rasa becomes so prominent, it seems to eclipse the primary rasa. But the primary rasa is eternal, so it doesn't get like smashed. It's just subordinated by the secondary. The secondary here is astonishment. Lila Shakti is arranging for Krishna to experience an emotion, a rasa, in his relationship with the cowherd boys. Astonishment. It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends. Therefore, as if seeing that this has been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder. That's the secondary emotion, and unsure what to do. He's omniscient. How can he be unsure what to do? It's an emotion. When the emotion becomes so high, it may eclipse his true identity. And sometimes that's what happened. That's what's happening in this pastime. So back to those of you that came in a little bit later. The topic is mystery of Lila Shakti. We're unpacking a little bit the mystery of Lila Shakti. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Seeing the boys escape from his hand, Krishna was astonished, secondary rasa, at the actions of his Lila Shakti. What was the cause of astonishment? Krishna's reasoning. It's not possible for these cowherd boys to have prarabdha karma. And besides, the Supersoul does not give them the tendency for karma. It's not karma related. Now, for those of you that not familiar with these terms, there's 4 stages of karma, and one of them is it's happening right now. That's prarabdha karma. Like something bonks you on the head, and that's prarabdha karma. And then there's something that's lying as a seed, it starts to fructify, it's almost mature, and then it hits you in the head. Or it happens, karma, good or bad. So for the cowherd boys, there's no prarabdha karma. There's no karma. That's a reaction for something. And then the second half is, Supersoul doesn't make an impetus to do new fresh karma. So neither is squeaky clean. The cowherd boys are eternal associates of Krishna. There's no karma involved in what they're doing. Because Supersoul is my expansion, Lila Shakti does not do anything unfavorable to me. So Krishna is analyzing the whole scene. Therefore, the Lila Shakti has made this seemingly unfavorable arrangement with the desire to put me, full of prema, into the compassion mood. Karuna rasa. So that's another secondary rasa. We've heard 3 so far. Astonishment, wonder, very similar. And karuna, he's feeling compassion. These poor cowherd boys. How astonishing is her control over me, the form of all rasas, the king of all Lila, Lila Purushottama. He's astonished. And he's marveling at how Lila Shakti is enabling him to experience this rasa, secondary rasa. But then the secondary rasa is going to subside and the primary rasa is going to take precedence again. Same image. Now, what was to be done? That's already happened, and he's had these secondary emotional rasas. How could both the killing of this demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? Because if I kill the demon, they're in the body of the demon, and they're going to suffer. I don't want them to suffer, but I don't want the demon to keep them in his mouth. So what to do? Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, decided to wait for an intelligent. Now, this is directly a verse spoken by Shukadev Goswami. Sometimes we don't know what to do. There are circumstances that are perplexing. This is a good example. At least one option is you just wait till you get the right solution. That's an option, just to be patient and wait. He decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then the solution came, and he entered the mouth of Aghasura. Krishna saw the perfect way to enjoy pastimes and liberate the demon, to protect the devotees and destroy the rascals. We have some special sound effects today. So one of the things that we heard yesterday, and it's at 12:30, so we're going to spill over. I hope it's okay. One of the qualities of Krishna is clever. The definition of clever is that by doing one thing, he's accomplishing multiple things. The mother of this child that's making the noise, can you do the needful? You're taken care of. Okay. Let's see what happens. By doing one thing, Krishna is simultaneously achieving many things. That's clever. That's one of Krishna's qualities, he's exhibiting this. He saw the unlimited calves and boys. He then entered the snake because he was overcome with affection, seeing their condition. He is called Hari because he would remove their suffering and attract their minds. So Hari, he who takes away their suffering, and he gives something else. He gives himself. He gives real happiness, attracting their minds. Here's a verse from another text. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. For those of you not familiar with this book, it's a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami wrote a book, very wonderful book called Brihat Bhagavatamrita, and he writes in this book, I worship the pastimes performed in the early mornings when he entered the Vrindavan forest with his calves and friends, most relishable pastimes, such as entering the mouth of a great serpent after pondering in various ways. Now this is Narada Muni speaking to the protagonist. His name is Gopakumar, and describing this pastime. Continuing, chapter 12. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghasura, the demigods, you see those guys up in the clouds on the top? The demigods, hidden behind the clouds, exclaimed, Alas, alas! But the friends of Aghasura, like Kamsa and other demons, were jubilant. When Krishna, next verse, when Krishna heard the demigods crying, He immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat just to save himself and the coward boys. So you know something about pythons. However big they are, when they swallow something that's bigger than they are, their body enlarges. And they engulf that thing, they close their mouth, and they suffocate the living entity that went inside their mouth, and the acidic juices digest everything. And they can get really, really big, and they can swallow really big things. But when Krishna entered, he made himself bigger than the Aghasura demon could expand himself, and he suffocated. You see in the painting, there's on the top of the head of the Aghasura demon, you see some coward boys. That's because the light, when he was suffocated, the life air in his body popped out of the top of his head, because on the top of the head, there's a soft spot. Children have it, people have it, serpents have it, and poop, the soul burst with along the life air from the body of the python. So we've seen this painting again, and we've seen this painting again. Krishna's watching the whole thing. And we're about to finish quickly. When the demigods made all their clamor, alas, alas, he's been killed. They were celebrating, showering flowers. The wicked demon is dead. There was made such a clamor that Lord Brahma heard all the way in the upper, because that's the heavenly realm, or Swargaloka. Above Swargaloka is Brahmaloka. So Brahma heard, and Brahma came to see what's going on. And what's going on is, after the demon, he saw the soul leave the body of the demon and merge into the body of Krishna. And then, when the demon was killed, it's time for lunch. Because those of you that were with us in the earlier parts 1 and 2 of this whole pastime, Krishna left home without having breakfast. And now they're hungry. Time for lunch. So they're having lunch. Krishna picked the spot by the side of the river Jamuna. Brahma is zooming overhead, amazed at what just happened. And here's from the next chapter, this is chapter 13. Brahma, who resides in the higher planetary system in the sky, had observed the activities of the most powerful Krishna in killing and delivering Aghasura, and he was astonished. Now that same Brahma wanted to show some of his own power and see the power of Krishna. He was matching his power against Krishna's power. Guess who won? Who was engaged in his childhood pastimes, playing as if with ordinary cowherd boys. Therefore, in Krishna's absence, Brahma took all the boys and calves to another place. Thus, he became entangled. For the very near future, he would see how powerful Krishna was. So now that's the conclusion of the pastime. That this is all under the topic of Lila Shakti. So I'm going to end here. Lila Shakti is an energy, an agency of the Yogamaya potency that enables Krishna to have loving exchanges with his devotees. And he does what he wants to do through the agency of his Leelas, or through Lila Shakti. He just desires, and then voila, everything happens. And we're hearing, so for us to hear it, we're hearing of loving exchanges. What's it like in the spiritual world? What's it like in the spiritual world? I'm going to end with this. Once upon a time, I was a little boy. And I didn't grow up in a Vaishnav family. I grew up in a Christian family. And little Christian boys do what little Christian boys commonly do. You go to Sunday school. We have our Sunday school too. We had a Sunday school. And in Sunday school, we did different things. One of the things I learned was about heaven. So I asked Mom and Dad, what's it like there? We're supposed to want to go there, right? Like, what's the travel advertisement? I didn't use that language, but that's essentially what I was asking. We're supposed to want to go there. What's attractive about it? Tell me something about it. They didn't say we don't know, but they didn't know. And so I asked the priest, and he didn't say he didn't know, but he didn't know. And so I shrugged my shoulders and got busy doing what most young boys growing up in America are supposed to do. You're supposed to be successful. And, successful for a little boy growing up in America, three things. Do well in your academics, do well in sports, and have a nice social life. And you're successful. So I got busy trying to be successful. And then somehow I met devotees. A few things in between, a few years later. But then now not only understood what happens in heaven, but what happens in Vaikuntha and what happens in Goloka. And what's the distinction between heaven, Vaikuntha, and Goloka. And then this place, the material world. So all of that is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam it's knowledge. Not just knowledge of how to build a computer or how to build a Tesla or how to, do stuff. That's there. Better than a Tesla, better than a rocket ship. But aside, even witches that can fly without a machine, just a broomstick or a tree branch. Really? It's mythology, right? Not mythology. It's subtle science, and then there's persons that are interested in that subtle science, and they can do subtle things with subtle science. Just like, I don't know if we have a problem with, technology device. I got a little cell phone, and sometimes something doesn't work. Like it happened. In the course of, I have this nice little watch, and it's hooked up to my phone, iPhone and an iWatch, Apple. For the first time, I experienced when I flew from Chicago to Portland, the phone changed time, but my watch didn't. And I didn't know what to do. Like, it was 2 hours off. Every time I look at my watch, it was 2 hours off. And it kept being 2 hours off. So I asked somebody that got me the Apple Watch, what do I do? And he told me what to do. And so I did the thing, and, it worked. But, I don't know beans about technology. I don't want to learn it either. But some people know. And you can do stuff with technology you can't do otherwise. So transcendental knowledge can take us to the spiritual world. And where do you get transcendental knowledge? Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you do that again, please? A little slower. Like, how do you get transcendental knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam? It depends on the source. And if the source is beyond the senses and beyond the fallibility, the defects of conditioned souls, if you find such a source and they explain it's like this, then you have knowledge. What's heaven like? Who knows what heaven's like? How are you going to find out what heaven's like? You go to the scripture. And if you have faith in Scripture and you have the real Scripture, then you can know. And not only you can know, but you can go there. You can be in such and such place. There's a procedure to get to such and such place. So this is the procedure how to become situated in the eternal activities with Krishna. And this is what you do there. It's what they do there. And by immersing ourselves in that particular sound vibration, we can be situated there also. Isn't that nice? I think it's nice. I think it's really nice. And what's our qualification? Zip. Is there? You have to have certain credential. You have to have a passport and a visa to get there. Just here. That's your passport and visa. Hear attentively. That's an adverb. But hear attentively. And voila. It's not instant, not automatic, but it's a natural process. And that's Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're hearing, back to the topic, the mystery of Lila Shakti. So if Krishna wants, he can do whatever he likes, because his potencies are unlimited and he's unlimited, and through the agency of his pastime potency, Lila Shakti, he can do anything. And he does. And the main something is stimulating loving relationships with his eternal associates and giving liberation even to demons. I mean, that's what happened with Putana. That's what happened to Bakasura. And that's what happened to Aghasura. They're all demons. They came for the purpose of killing Krishna, and they got liberation. Wow. So that's not a good plan. Don't become a demon. But you hear about the merciful nature of Krishna, and you want the merciful nature of Krishna, please. As much as possible. As sincerely, as purposefully as possible. So I'm going to end. I've already more than used my time. Let's see if there's some discussion. If there's no questions, I think we just move to the next activity. Comments or questions? I see one hand.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Let me just summarize what I understood. So, Lila Shakti, she is an expansion of or extension of Yoga Maya,
yes.
And she tries to orchestrate the pastimes to serve Krishna.
She not only tries, she does. That's what she does.
Okay, and Krishna, in one of the slides we saw that Krishna accepts the service, like he willingly accepts. So
even when it appears to be contrary, because it's actually his interest, it is his interest, and appears to be contrary to his interest, but in reflection, it's his interest. That is stimulation of a secondary emotion. So it's his interest. Then he can go to the rescue and rescue them all. The hero.
Okay, Maharaj. I think you answered my question, but let me ask anyway. So when the cowherd boys, they try to they are entering into the mouth of Aghasur. At that time, Krishna knows that he's a demon, and he feels afraid for a second.
Yes.
And at that time, he wants to prevent the cowherd boys from entering into the mouth, but Lila Shakti just dismisses that desire. Because
she supersedes his Satya Sankalpa Shakti by Krishna's will to do so.
Okay, there seems to be some level of independence that Lila Shakti can do.
She does what she Lila Shakti derives her ability from Yogamaya. Yogamaya knows what Krishna wants, and she does what Krishna wants. And if Krishna wants to appear to be bewildered, just like Lord Ramachandra appeared to be bewildered. Lord Ramachandra appeared to be separated from Sita. It's a Leela. He's orchestrating his Leela. Although he's omniscient, he knows exactly where Ravana is, and smack the guy and finish, and Sita's back. But there's a whole Leela. And she, Lila Shakti, is facilitating. Even to the point where he, the supreme, omniscient, powerful person, appears to be bewildered and helpless. So he calls upon some monkeys to help him.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Leela. And that's Lila Shakti, orchestrated according to Krishna's plan, or Lord Ramachandra's plan. Even if it looks like, the opposite. That's this snake that doesn't move from point A to point B in a straight line. It's prema. Get used to it. It's nice. Different set of rules. And it's not karma. And it's not fiction. It's prema. The exhibition of love. Anything else? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for speaking about some profound insights that the Acharyas have on Sri Krishna Bhagavan's activities and those that are dear to him. Is it a correct statement to say that prema is synonymous with Lila Shakti? Srila Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur in various areas divides Vishnu Maya into Mahamaya, Yoga Maya, and then he specifically singles out prema, where sometimes the power and the Aishwarya of Bhagavan is covered and uncovered in order to facilitate relationships and leelas.
They're not synonymous. They're certainly relatives. They're related to one another. I had, as you know, because you were with us, I had an extensive discussion. I'll put the microphone. I had an extensive discussion with Garuda, who was a co-presenter over the Memorial Day weekend in Gitanagari. We had a nice retreat. And he is his scholarship, he's a PhD graduate from Harvard University in Sanskrit. He's a smart man. And he's written several books on Krishna's pastimes. So we had this, I asked, and we had a discussion about this topic, today's topic. And there, in one sense, Lila Shakti and Yogamaya are synonymous, but even more specifically, they're two different terms because they're two different entities. One is derived from, or is the instrument of, Yogamaya. Lila Shakti is derived from. But, it's direct potency derived from the source of that potency. So one can say, back to your question, one can say there's a one-to-one correlation between the two, but there is a distinction between the two. That's why there's two terms. Now, your question is, prema, can that be used interchangeably with Yogamaya? Well, it's not exactly. It's not the same, nearly one-to-one correspondence or correlation. Because prema is describing, it's an emotion. It's the epitome of the consciousness and the emotional content of a perfected soul and the relationship between the two, the living entity and the supreme source of everything. And that's what prema is. And Lila Shakti is something else. They're related, but they're not the same. When Krishna wants, the agency through which Krishna wants is Yogamaya. And Yogamaya detects and Yogamaya arranges what Krishna wants. There's what does Krishna want? He's experiencing prema and he wants others to experience or revive their prema or enhance their existing prema and in exchange loving dealings. So that's the connection, but they're not the same thing. They're connected, they're of the spiritual world, but they're not the same thing. Okay, so we're going to end. Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi.
Going on.
It's finished.
Yeah. We'll do sit down care. We'll do sit down kirtan and give everybody a chance to chant the holy name together in Sankirtan. So please remain seated. You can face towards the altar. Let's appreciate by His Holiness Prabhupada Swami Maharaj